What up, nerds? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Leslie, and today on the Nerdy Narrative, it's time for my weekly update. This is just a little video where I talk about all the stuff I've been up to during the week. The majority of it is, of course, reading, so we're going to start there first. When I talked to y'all last week, I was really close to finishing a couple of things. One is a short story collection by John Palladino called Before the End. This collection features characters from John's series, The Tragedy of Sedaine. He does recommend that you have at least read the first book in that series, which is The Trials of Ashmount. I cannot recommend this series enough. If you like grimdark, and I'm talking grimdark, there is no light shades of gray to this one. It is dark and stormy gray. I love this series so much, and this collection is fire. This collection is a gift to the fans of the series. Some of these stories are origin stories of some of the characters. Other stories just explain an event that was briefly alluded to but would catch your interest as a reader in the books. John and I chatted a little bit this week. He's really close to having the last couple of details ironed out, so I should be getting a release date to share with y'all really soon. Of course, I'll also be bringing you a little review, non-spoiler of course, for this collection, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Next, I finished my reread of Wistful Ascending by J.C.M. Byrne. This is the first book in the Hybrid Helix series. Book 5 is going to be released really soon, which is what prompted me to go back, reread the first book, and continue on through the series so I can be caught up. The first time that I read this book, I did film a non-spoiler review, which I'll share with you in the cards above, and I'll go ahead and link it in the description box down below. I have never been one of those people that just continue a series where they left off. I almost always will go back and reread all of the books that came before just to become reacquainted with the characters, pick up anything I might have missed the first time, be reminded of things that I wanted to have in the back of my mind as I read more books in the series, just to see how it was going to be developed or even answered or explained, just that sort of thing. There was also something that I noticed the author did in this one that I don't think it stood out to me the first time that I read that, and that is the whole time through this book we know that the main character is considered different from all of the other hybrids. And the author gives us that answer why in book 1. This isn't a superhero who's going to go throughout the majority of his series a big mystery to the readers. We understand him. We know what drives him. We know why he's different from the very beginning. And I really enjoyed that. I don't think I noticed that the first time I read it. And that is why I love to reread books. The last book that I finished this week is Chasm by Stacey McEwen. This is the second book in the Galatian trilogy. It's a fantasy romance series. The third book, Valley, comes out on September 10th. I've already requested the art. Fingers crossed I get approved for it. I had a very interesting time reading this book. I do have a review filmed for it. It's part of the online book tour that's hosted by Angry Robot Books. My review will be going up on the channel August the 22nd. In the meantime, the first book in the series, Ledge, I reread that one, and since I had not previously done a dedicated non-spoiler review, I went ahead and filmed one. So just in case there's any fantasy romance fans out there that haven't heard of this trilogy before and you want to know more, keep your eyes on the channel for the review of the first book next week. Now let's talk about what I'm currently reading, and I'm about to surprise any of you that's been watching this channel over the last 4 or 5 years. I'm only reading one book. The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. And if you watched last week, I didn't even mention this one on the TBR. That's because I had completely forgotten about it. This is my book club pick of the month, and I forgot because this is going to be my first official meeting with the book club. I joined right as they were having their meeting for July, and I totally missed it. I'm so excited to be a part of this. I can't wait. Luckily for me, I had placed a hold on the audiobook with my library. That came through, and that's what reminded me, hey girl, you gotta read this book before a couple more weeks, and you're gonna need to be talking about it with your new friends instead of looking dumb going, I forgot. I'm about to be real honest with y'all. I did not vote for this book. I had not heard of this author. When I read the book description, it didn't sound that interesting to me. I was not excited, but I wasn't going to skip. I was like, I just joined this club. I'm going to take part in it. And I'm so glad that I did because I love this book. I mean, it had me hooked within 2 chapters. It is such a mind-blowing thought experiment. That's exactly what it is, but it's a very entertaining thought experiment. I have been constantly stopping going, wow, I didn't think of this. What if it did this? How would this affect? Like, it made me put myself in the shoes of these people, which I believe is what the author meant. And I don't care who you are, what your walk of life entails, you will either see yourself in one or more of these characters, or you're going to see yourself mirrored by one of these characters. It is absolutely insane. The quick and dirty of the book description is one day, people wake up, there's a little wooden box on their front doorstep. The box just simply has their name on it and a little saying in their language that says the measure of your life lies within. Come to find out, there is a string in this box, and according to the length of the string, that is how many years of your life you're going to get to have. Of course, researchers, scientists get a hold of it, testing's done, and they're able to narrow down how many years of life you have based on your string. And all of a sudden, everybody is being divided by short string and long string, and what that means. And I mean, when you start applying real life stuff, and it's funny because I started asking questions and then the author would later address those with these characters in the book. There are 8 characters in this book. You're not thrown into all 8 at once. You start out with a couple and they meet another one and they meet another one, so they're incorporated slowly, so it's not hard to keep up with all of them. But I just can't put this one down. Y'all, I started it yesterday and I'm almost done with it. I'm going to try and finish it today. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. That's all I want to do. That's why I've only been reading one book right now, because I don't want anything else. I just want to finish this one. This is a book that I'm really glad that I took a chance on. And this is the kind of book that should be required reading in high school. That's something people can actually apply to current situations and learn something from it. Okay, what's going to be on the TBR after I finish The Measure? Well, first up is going to be Return of the Griffin by J.C.M. Byrne, book 2 in the Hybrid Helix series. I'm really excited to learn about this shark. And then I have one here that is a recommendation by one of my patrons, Star. This is Beowulf, and it is a graphic novel that is a reimagining or a retelling of the epic poem Beowulf. I am so excited. So glad that my library had a copy. It features a gang of troublemaking kids who have to defend their treehouse from a fun-hating adult who can instantly change kids into grown-ups, and that's their biggest fear. I love it. Still on the TBR list from last week, carrying over into this week, I have The Gods Below by Andrea Stewart. That's coming out on September the 3rd, so I gotta get a move on that one. A new addition to the list is a novella from Stephen Aryan called New York Minute. Now, I know a lot of you are familiar with Stephen Aryan's fantasy work. New York Minute is a fast-paced crime thriller mystery that he is self-publishing. This is a new journey for him. I'm so excited to watch this journey because he does talk a lot about the traditionally published journey on his YouTube channel. I'll have that link down below. It's a great author series, but I like to just learn about it from a reviewer-reader aspect. So I'm excited to hear about this journey. I'm sure he's going to have lots of helpful information for self-published authors to take advantage of. But I'm also excited that he's trying something new, and I'm sure that he is petrified that his fantasy fans aren't going to be happy with it. But in my viewpoint, Stephen Aryan is an auto-buy author, and it's not just because he writes fantasy. It's because I just like the writing style. I love the way that he creates and develops and portrays characters and just the themes that he writes about. Crime, thriller, mystery is the genre I'm reading the most of currently, and it was where I got my start as a reader as a kid. I read mysteries, Nancy Drew, Sweet Valley High, The Hardy Boys, so I am very excited to read this one. The last book that I'm going to throw on this list is an audiobook, and this is a series that my husband is currently listening to, and he is dying for me to listen to it so he can have someone to talk to about it, and that is the Dungeon Crawler Carl series by Matt Denneman. I've heard about this series, it's been on my list forever, and it just works out that all of the books that I'm about to be reading are arcs or books that don't have audiobooks for me to pair together as an immersion read, so I have room for audiobooks, so I'm gonna slide the first Dungeon Crawler Carl in sometime in the coming week. Hopefully I'm gonna love it as much as Chris does. I heard a snippet of it and I was cracking up at it, so I think I'm gonna love it. Real quick, let's talk about this week on the channel. If you missed it on Tuesday, my non-spoiler review for the new release from T. Kingfisher went up, A Sorceress Comes to Call. Of course, I'm going to have these linked in the cards and description box so you can easily go check those out if you haven't already. On Thursday, as I mentioned earlier in the video, my non-spoiler review for Ledge by Stacey McEwen went up, the first book in the Galatian trilogy, so that one's there for you fantasy romance fans, or if you just like romance and you want to check out and see what you think of a fantasy romance. This would be a great introduction to that subgenre if you haven't tried it out. Next week on the channel, on Tuesday, my non-spoiler review for Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton is going to be available on the channel, and I have thought about that book so much since I read that one. That one is such a good book. I didn't think I would ever find a science fiction novel that I would find as humorous and more interesting than Andy Weir's The Martian, but Edward Ashton did that with Mickey 7. I'm so excited for that one. I can't wait to read the next book, and I'm excited to see the movie next January. On Thursday, my non-spoiler review for Into the Black Nowhere. That's the second book in Meg Gardner's Unsub series, which each book in that series is based off or inspired by a real life serial killer. So all you crime thriller fans, that one's going to be available for your viewing pleasure. And I believe that wraps up my week. I didn't get up to a whole lot. We watched a whole lot of TV over the weekend. Chris had a tattoo appointment on Saturday to get one of his tattoos finished. And then Sunday, it just had a light rain all day. So we just stayed around and watched TV. We tried a couple of movies. We watched Late Night with the Devil, which was phenomenal until the end. The end just ruined the whole movie for me. It left both of us with just a sour taste in our mouths. So we watched another movie. We went with a comedy, Mark Wahlberg's The Family Plan, I think it's called. That one had the desired effect. It made us laugh a lot. He is an assassin that was in hiding, and he led this really straight-laced, rule-following life and then gets found out, and his family has no idea. So we enjoyed that one, but it's one I'm glad that we watched at home streaming instead of paying in a theater. I mean, that's the case with the majority of movies that come out. I would not pay theater prices to go see. Like, have you noticed that? Just like a lot of other product you buy at grocery stores and such, shrinkflation is what we call it. The price stays the same or gets higher, but the quality and the amount shrinks. Yeah, that's happening in the film industry as well. The quality has shrunk, but the price has gone up. A couple of new shows that we tried. Someone recommended a thriller series called Eric. It's got Benedict Cumberbatch in it. He plays this guy who created this Muppet show, and he's one of the little puppeteers, and his kid gets kidnapped. I made it through one episode. It was so chaotic, so messy. I just didn't like it, and there was one line in that first episode that just really pissed me off, and I was like, I'm over it. So I noped out of that one. Chris may continue it, I don't know. I think he was okay with the first one. We also decided to give the first episode of The Acolyte a try. Now, I'm someone who has found a lot of the recent Disney-produced Star Wars stuff boring or just not happy with it because they retconned so many things that I have grown up with in the Star Wars world. But I went in with absolutely zero expectations. In fact, I expected to hate it. And I had my iPad on my lap just surfing through social media, but it did catch my attention. I did put my iPad down and pay attention to the rest of the show. So that one might be okay. We'll have to wait and see. I will probably watch more. No, I will not watch more this weekend, because we have Halloween Horror Nights starts for us. Yep, on Sunday, we're going to do what they call the Unmasking the Horror Behind the Screams. It's a tour of 3 of the houses at Halloween Horror Nights. So we're going to be spending the majority of tomorrow doing that. Last year, we did the 6th house tour, and they let us take pictures in certain areas. They won't allow us to take pictures of all of the magic behind the horror because they don't want us sharing it online to show everybody that hasn't been able to come yet. I will not be posting my pictures online because the event doesn't start until the first weekend in September. I don't even think I shared them publicly on social media last year when we did it either. I just put it on my Patreon for my patrons to see and enjoy because I don't think any of them were coming to the event last year. So I'll probably do that again this year. I am so excited. All right, I'm gonna go wrap this up, get started on the weekend. I hope y'all are having a wonderful weekend as well, wherever you are. Here's to hoping you have a good book in your future. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you on Tuesday.